Hello, everybody. My name is Santiago Rodriguez, as Nila introduced myself, right? I'm going to say my long title. It sounds very long when I hear it. But I'm going to say that I'm a very proud member of this community as well from the very beginning, right? And I will talk a little bit today about our journey working with OpenDaylight and being part of OpenDaylight. First, I want to reflect a little bit. There's a fundamental question I usually get from my kids and my friends, right? They ask me, Daddy, what do you do for a living, right? What is your job like? And for years, I've been trying to figure out, okay, we do this kind of like hidden networking equipment that is sitting somewhere in a house and cabled and so on. And well, yeah, it allows people to talk and stuff like that, right? But lately, what I answer when I get that question is, I have the best job in the world, right? And I think I have the best job in the world because what I do, what you do as well, keeps the world turning, right? In the world we have today, what we do makes people, available, or makes people able to actually make a phone call on the move, or search for data in the internet, or eventually, or soon, you will not be able to start your car, right, without going through our equipment. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that as well. Because what is going on is a transformation. It's a big transformation. Everything is transforming. The society is transforming. The way we do business is transforming. And accordingly, the way we build our networks is also transforming, right? Just think a little bit about this. Telephony was invented in 1876. Took approximately 120 years to reach 1 billion lines. If we think about mobile telephony instead and mobile broadband, in the last 20 years, we have reached around 7 billion subscriptions. It goes fast. It goes very fast nowadays. It's not, and that's not all, right? By 2020, what we expect is that there will be around 10 billion consumer devices connected and another 7 billion machine-to-machine devices connected to the networks. I just did the counting myself at home, right? I think we have something like 4 mobile phones. We have 2 TVs, tablets, the home alarm system, etc. I think I have more than 15 devices actually that are connected at home. And you can probably do the same count and you reach the same conclusion more or less, right? It's in my case, I live in a small flat in Stockholm. It's starting to get a little bit crowded, to be honest. And this amount of devices, they don't have all of them the same expectations or requirements on the network, right? You will have certain devices that are, like a smart meter sitting somewhere out in the field, right? You really need it to be energy efficient, be sleeping most of the time and wake up when there is an event. On the other side, there are a number of devices, like a remote healthcare device, for example, or a connected car, that will be transmitting and receiving large amounts of data and needs a super ultra low latency to operate, right? You don't want to be sitting on your car, on a self-driven car and just, wait 3 seconds for the car to react. So all of this big amount of devices, the Internet of Things, and all the different needs that they have on the network require rethinking how the networks are built as well, right? And there are kind of like 3 pillars around this. Or 2 pillars around this, how we deal with this transformation. One is 5G, and the other one is virtualization. With virtualization, what you get is an easy way to deploy your software, right? It gets faster. With cloud, what you get basically is the ability to scale it out, scale it in, and optimize the way you use your resources. And with SDN, you get the ability to control the whole network and provide connectivity as you need, right? And SDN will actually make it possible to automate a lot of these processes. And if you don't manage to automate all of these processes, you will not be able to handle the 26 billion devices, right? There's another transformation that is going on, which is open source. Very relevant to all of us here. 3 years ago, when OpenDaylight was, or 4 years ago when OpenDaylight was actually launched, we decided to join the community as a founding member. But not only that, we decided that all our SDN solutions would be based on OpenDaylight. It's been a bit of a journey, right, since the very beginning. We took hydrogen to start with, and then we've been releasing software our own SDN solutions based on the software from the community. Most of the cases, we have kept up the pace, but I will explain in the next few slides that there are also some lessons that we have learned along the way. If you look at what we're doing today, or if you look at the trend here, we started with very little, but we're increasing our contribution. And it's not only about having more people working in the community, it's also about improving the way we work with the community. When it comes to the future, what we expect a little bit for us is that we will work not only, not so much on features, we will also work in a lot of the usability aspects, and I will explain why. So what are the 3 lessons that I would like to share with all of you today in our experience with OpenDaylight and open source? The first one, going back to hydrogen, right? As I said, we decided that we would base our SDN solutions on OpenDaylight, so we took hydrogen, okay, open source components should work. But then when we started working with that, we realized that, okay, there are a few things that we need to change here, right? There were a few modules that just didn't need, right? So we just removed them. There were a few other modules that, you know, they were not mature enough or didn't have everything we needed, so we just changed them, we just enhanced them. There were a few other modules that we actually thought, okay, we can't do this, you know, or this doesn't work for us, we need something different, right? And we actually changed them. And finally, there were a few other things that we wanted to add on top of OpenDaylight. So we obviously added a few more modules, right? And the result was something like this, right? And don't take me wrong. I mean, if I had to make the same decision, type of decision today, I would probably make the same decision, right? We had, of course, the pressure to deliver a system that works to our customers. But what is the problem with this setup? What is the problem with this? The problem is that when we took Helium, it took us a whole big amount of effort actually to, you know, move everything that we have changed and added into the Helium architecture. When we tried to take Lithium, we just couldn't manage. It was too much, right? It wasn't feasible. So basically there we decided, okay, we need to change our strategy, and we moved to a strategy that we call upstream first. So everything we do today, we upstream first to the community, and then we take the software from the community. And this is giving us very good results. I can compare, you know, the time it took us to release on hydrogen was approximately 9 months. If we take beryllium instead, it took us approximately 2 months to release, right? And our ambition moving forward is that we should be able to do continuous deployment. There's a second lesson that I would like to share that Neela more or less introduced as well, that there is a bigger picture, right? A lot of our customers, they are not simply interested in getting a specific box or a specific component. There is also a need for a transformation, a bigger transformation that they are doing, and they're looking for a transformation partner, right? And then this transformation to NFV requires multiple things. One is standardization, right? It needs to be done in a certain architecture in a way that it becomes so interoperable and that becomes predictable. But a little bit what we see as well happening, and this the change from how it was done before, is that for one standardization body, there are something like 15 different open source communities that are contributing code and creating code along the way, right? Today, you're able to build pretty complete NFV infrastructure just by using open source, right? And then what we decided as well was, okay, same as we did with ODL, we want to be a founding member of many of these communities that have been created, and we are an active contributor to a lot of them, right? Because we believe in order to be a transformation partner, we need to be able to actually influence and to be able to actually participate, be part of these communities, right? And we're fully committed to continue with this strategy. But there is a third lesson that I want to share as well, which is, it's about usability. And for me, usability is not a strict term, right? It's not about a graphical user interface. It's not about a specific thing. It's a little bit about many things, right? Everything that makes the software usable, regardless of the features that it has, right? So things like the quality of it, the performance, upgradability, robustness, etc. My experience, and I guess everybody's experience working with software, is that in the beginning, there's a lot of push for new features, right? The product should do this and this and that. But even if you do all of those features, it doesn't get adopted. It doesn't go mainstream, right? And the reason is because it is not usable in many cases. So there comes along with the requirements for functionality, there comes along a lot of requirements for usability as we go along the way. And there's a point, what I call the break-even point for adoption, where you have good enough features and good enough usability of the system that it goes mainstream. And this is, I think, very important for OpenDaylight because we are getting there. As Nila pointed out, there are a lot of deployments that are starting to happen now around OpenDaylight. And it's not good enough if it is, if it has the features. It needs to be usable, right? And I think it's also very important in this particular community to see that we have both developers and users working together. That's the true DevOps experience, right? When you can get the feedback of the user immediately and you can do a product that is according to what the user actually needs. The last thing I want to share with you is, in line with what Nila was also presenting in the beginning, is that this is really happening now, right? Our OpenDaylight software is being deployed as we speak in multiple places. In our case, I'm just showing here a handful of the contracts that we have signed this year and that are being deployed right now in the networks. So what's happening is that the networks that carry your phone calls, your mobile broadband connections, etc., are becoming virtualized, and they are using ODL as the base for virtual networking. So a little bit three takeaways that I want to leave on the keynote here. One is, as I said, it is happening now. That creates a bigger demand as well for what we produce, right? And all these sort of usability aspects. It's based on open source. It's not just OpenDaylight, it's a bigger ecosystem here. And then usability. Usability is going to be the most important thing moving forward, right? And it is important that we continue to grow on that. I don't want to finish either without saying a lot of the topics that I've touched upon here, everything from 5G, DevOps, actually how SDN works with containers, how can you run analytics on top of OpenDaylight, some of our projects that we have been contributing to, like SFC or Genius, you will have a chance actually in our demo booth to experiment, right? And some of the talks that will be there during these few days, right? And lastly, I hope all of you feel part of the network society. Right? This is happening now. It's a big transformation that we are actually making possible from people, places like this. And the last thing, when you get a question about what do you do at work, I hope you all say that you have the best job in the world. Thank you.